I'd like to welcome our next guest, Jemelin Artigas. You may know her from The Apprentice Season 15, model, actress, presenter and TV personality, and now a keynote motivational speaker and mindset coach.
16 years old, when my mom said, "You want to go to London to learn English?" I already had my bags packed.
You're like now in this little apartment.
It was literally a room the size of this table. I had £800 in my pocket, but I ended up spending £300 on a jacket. It was freezing. And I've always said if I was ever to be on TV for anything, it would be The Apprentice, because I'm so business-minded.
Yeah. How scary is the boardroom?
I think Lord Sugar just needed a hack. I think he was really annoyed with me many times because I will always have an answer. The first time I heard about mindfulness, La La Land don't pay my bills, okay? And I'm so grateful that I gave it a go.
Okay, so I'd like to welcome our next guest, Jemelin Artigas. You may know her from The Apprentice Season 15, model, actress, presenter and TV personality, and now a keynote motivational speaker and mindset coach. Welcome, Jemelin.
Thank you.
So excited to have you on the show.
Very excited to be here. Very excited.
So I have actually been watching your, let's say, your journey since The Apprentice, because I, used to watch Apprentice like every single episode. And when I first watched you, I thought when you came on, you were captivating. Very, very different to any of the other contestants that we've seen on there. So we'll go into some of your your time at The Apprentice and how that came about. But the first thing I'd like to ask you is find out a little bit more about little Jemelin. So when you were younger, your kind of formative years, tell me you're from Venezuela. Tell me what was life like for you growing up?
Mm-hmm. I'm the eldest of three, so it was always fast forward for me. I had to grow up really fast because I had to look after my sisters because my mom had to work. So my younger sister was 4 years younger. Then my other younger sister was 12 years younger than me. Wow. I think she was born when I was about 11, and I became pretty much her mom. So I was a mom at 11 years old. It was a rough time. My mom divorced my dad. We were really poor. Then she started dating somebody a lot more successful. They moved in. Then I had a new sort of stepdad, and we went to live in a beautiful place. But I did not get on with him. And there was a lot of trauma that came from living with him. And it was it was hard. It was nice in a way because I had an amazing mother and she just made life a lot easier. But in another way, it was really tough because I felt like I had to grow up really fast. And, my time of being a child, it was very short-lived because of that.
Mm. And so when you moved and into that new house and you felt not quite comfortable there with, obviously you were going through it. Were you kind of a teenager at that age or early teens?
Oh God, no, 9 years.
Wow, 9.
I was a baby.
Oh, you're still a baby.
Yeah.
How did you what was your kind of coping mechanism for not being, you're almost kind of crossed between two worlds of going, obviously your mum's happy or she's in a relationship, but you're not feeling comfortable there. And you're also like that motherly figure to your younger siblings. How did that did that feel like a lot of weight to carry?
At the time it did. And of course, I just wanted to make everybody happy. And I didn't almost care about myself, And it's still hard to talk about these days because it brings a lot of emotions. But I had to just keep it a secret and keep everything, how I felt, a secret. So because I didn't want my mom to struggle, I didn't want my sisters to struggle. I wanted this perfect family life, So it was funny because we will have the most argumentative day all day, talking and saying horrible things, mainly him to me, and then my mom would come home at night and then everything would be like we're a happy family. And it was a lot of pretending. It was a lot of it was hard, and it gave me a really hard thick skin to go through in life. That's why when at 16 years old, when my mom said, "You want to go to London to learn English?" I already had my bags packed and I was just ready to go.
So there you were, at home thinking, okay, I'm just going to have to kind of bear it and grin it. You're now kind of 16 years old. How does it come about that you come to the UK, to London?
So at the time, I had my first, I say, serious boyfriend. You know, like my mom knew him, we knew his family, and he was interested in coming to London to learn English. I was a really good student, so I already kind of had a place in university, and I wanted to study communications. So my mom just, I think one day she just turned around. I think mothers know when there is something going on, and then she knew I was struggling, you know, with a lot of things in life. And she just turned around and said, why don't you just go for a year to London?
So coming to London, I mean, it's a big city to come to by yourself at 16 years old. I mean, I just, I lived outside of London. I remember the first time I came to London, I was like, oh, it's so big. There's so much going on. There's so much traffic. I mean, if you come from a completely different country and language as well, so you arrive in London, you meet up with your boyfriend. What do you do at that point? You start looking for a job, or you start what? How do you?
So it's funny though, because I tell this story to everybody. When my mom told me, let's go, you want to go to London? I've never heard about London before. We don't really, I mean, obviously geography and stuff, but back then there was no social media. There was no, oh, I want to go to, all you heard was Europe, not London. And in my head, I was just like, I just want to get out of here. Even if you told me back then you're moving to China, I would have said yes, Anywhere. I just wanted to get out of there and experience life in a different light. When I got on the flight, I thought the plane was going round and round and round, because I could not comprehend somewhere would be so far. How is this? How long does it take to get, like, this is crazy. So then I get to London, and I remember my boyfriend picking me up from the airport, and it was so many people. It was scary, I think, but I came with a bag full of hopes, and to be fair with you,
did you have like some kind of dream that you were coming with, or were you like, I just want to go there and see what happens?
Yes. Yeah. No, I didn't. In that moment, I don't think I thought all the things that this happened to me. I think in that moment I was just, let me get out of here. I don't want to live with my stepdad anymore. So that was amazing. And then, I see what I see when I get there. So I don't think I comprehended it. Because, at that point I was so young. 16.
I know, that is really young.
That's a baby. I've got an 11-year-old boy, and I could not.
Could you imagine him
in
16?
5 years? Yeah. No way. So yeah, it was pretty scary, but exciting. And, we moved into a really tiny accommodation in Good Street, which is like central London. So imagine, it's like full of tourists.
You're right in the middle of it all, yeah.
It was just surreal almost, but I was grateful that that I was able to do something like that, and thanks to my mom working so hard. But yeah, things did take a really dark turn eventually. But
once you were here, you're with your boyfriend. I mean, also a boyfriend at 16, right? It's not like the most, it's like new love, right? It's like you're in this new puppy love kind of scenario. You don't really know each other. So now you're actually living together.
Yeah.
How did that pan out? I kind of know a little bit, but how was that? Because you're like now in this little apartment, Not
even an apartment, it wasn't a student. It was literally a room the size of this table, probably. And it was a bunk bed, and there was 2 people sleeping upstairs. Up in the top bed.
Yeah.
Me and my boyfriend sleeping downstairs in the down bed, and then another girl sleeping on a mattress.
Oh my goodness.
So it's 5 people in like tiny space. It was a shared accommodation. So you shared the bathroom, kind of hostel, the kitchen. Yeah.
Yeah. So no privacy, really?
No.
Wow, that's tough.
Yeah.
And so tell me, like, what happened there?
So obviously we started living together. We 2 kids. He's 18. He was 18 or 19. I was 16.
Yeah.
And lots of arguments. And I knew I had £800 in my pocket. I remember my mom said to me, £800 20 years ago, was 23 years ago, was a lot of money. But I ended up spending like £300 on a jacket. I know.
I mean, come on, you were 16 years old.
It was freezing.
I mean, I remember when I got my student loan and I did go shopping first. It's like,
I just thought £500 would last me the whole year. But it was so cold. And I remember going to this
But hey, you look good.
I was warm. I was definitely warm. I went to these shops that were in Tottenham Court Road. Yeah. I don't know if you remember. They have like bags and everything.
They have, yeah.
Everything is like 3 times more expensive. And I'm like, I look at this jacket and it was like cheap skin and like inside and it was just so fluffy. And I was like, I need that. I need that.
I can literally see. Like...
And the funny part is that I paid for it and I was like, yeah, take this jacket. It was like a really crappy jacket I had, and I put it on in the shop. Then suddenly I realized, it's like, oh my God, I spent £300 on a jacket.
Like nearly half your money.
That's mad. So like a week later, I'm trying to give it back, and they're like, no, you wore it. You wore it outside the shop. So
you actually walked out of it with it.
You can't really give it back. And I'm like, oh no. So I realized I needed a job, and then they were looking at, I was studying English, and my college was said, we are looking for people to flyer for the school.
Yeah.
So I applied and I got the job. So I used to flyer every single day between like the school times. I used to flyer from 9 o'clock in the morning to 12, then go to school from 12 to 3, and then 3 to 6 flyer again. And I remember I used to get paid £70 a week.
Wow.
Student way, I guess. Yeah. And I remember when I started flyering, I think it was November. It's my first time in England. I come from a very hot country and it was freezing, and it was the first snowstorm in 50 years. So I had to stand there for hours, and they will have people, secret like shoppers, to make sure
to check that
I was there. And I needed the money so badly.
And you were in your coat, at least. See, there was a little bit of like thinking there.
Universe, send me the code, the most expensive code ever, but I was warm-ish. Wrong shoes. I had frozen bites and everything. I like wrong shoes, completely wrong shoes. But I was on my warm coat and I was flying, and I did that, I think, for a couple of months. Yeah.
And did you kind of like at any point feel like it's time to turn back? It's too cold. Or were you like...
Every second of the day. What am I doing? Imagine I come from,
Because I also like, I went to Barcelona when I was in my mid-20s. And the thing that I remember is it took me about 4 to 5 months to acclimatize a little bit, because the first 5 months, I just literally was going... Everything felt alien. Every single thing that you'd go and do was different to what you'd have. And then not having any friends, any family, nobody as your support network. You've got your boyfriend, but I don't know how that relationship was, because it's also it's like a young relationship, right? So like argumentative, so you got no one to go out and go, speak to your mom or your sisters. How did you cope with that?
Yeah, it was hard. When you move away from, you've got your boyfriend or certain friends, you confide in each other a lot. And they become sort of like your family almost, because, you live together, you do things together. And I come from a tiny little town in Venezuela, and we have the beach, and I had the pool, and it was just, everything was there, because it was like, a residential sort of closed area. And suddenly I'm like in this big city and I have no one to turn to apart from my boyfriend. So what happens when I'm like, I can't stand him?
Yeah.
And it was him and his best friend. So, his best friend was nice. He's a lovely guy to me. But 6 months down the line, when I found out that he cheated on me, that's when I left the house and I didn't know where I was going, and I became homeless. But that's when it got really hard, because, I knew that our group of friends, which were all Venezuelans, everybody knew. So I wasn't just breaking up with him. I was breaking up with every single contact I had in London. So I had no one. And then I had no money, a £300 jacket. So that was
you found
hard.
yourself kind of really hitting a kind of rock bottom of your physical scenario around you is now, I mean, there isn't much worse that you can get to in terms of, now I don't have my home. I don't have that place where I go to put my stuff, go to sleep. That first night, tell me about that first night.
It's funny though, because when I used to flyer, there was a guy that used to flyer with me, and he was quite older than me. And he used to tell me, "Oh, you can stay in my flat. You can stay in my room. I've got a room where you can like rent it out. I can give it to you for free for some time when you get back on your feet." And I was like, "God, no way! Like, no, I can't. I didn't trust older men because of a trauma. So I just felt like, you just get the icks. So I remember he used to tell me that because he kind of knew like I was struggling with my partner. But when I decided to move, everybody thought I was going to go and live there, And I lied to everybody. I said, yeah, I'm fine. I just didn't want contact with anybody. When I leave, and I knew it was either going to some stranger's house or sleeping on the street. And I think I was so angry and I was so upset. I just didn't know. I was lost. I was 17, by this time I've turned 17. It was January. It's in the middle of like a massive snowstorm. And I remember storming out of my house, of the tiny flat, and just with my bags thinking, where to now? And it started raining. And I tell this story all the time because I think this is the most amazing story for anyone who doesn't believe in manifesting. I left. So I'm in Good Street, Tottenham Court Road.
Yeah.
So the room was behind Good Street, right? So I come out with my bag, the only thing that I had. And I stormed down. I'm storming down the street. Slowly I start, all these emotions starts to come up and I start crying. People were asking me, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. And then obviously we're in London, starts raining. So I go underneath this.
You're like anything else,
I mean, I didn't actually raining and snowing at the same time. So it was like, great. And as I'm storming down and it starts to rain, I go underneath. I don't know if you know Tottenham Court Road, there is this pillars.
Kind of like arches.
Yeah. So I go underneath that. Yeah. And I'm standing there and that's when I burst out into tears and I don't have an umbrella. I think that what sent me off, that I didn't have an umbrella and I wanted to carry on walking because all I was thinking is like, I'm really close to the house. So they're going to see me. Somebody's going to see me around here. And I turn around and I just look up and there was this building and there was these people coming out with suitcases and suits. And I looked at them and I was like, one day I'm going to be like them. I'm going to prove to them. I'm going to prove to him what he's lost. And I'm going to be successful like them. And I'm going to be, powerful like them. Back in the years when they used to have a briefcase and that you thought that was success.
Yeah, no, I get it. I'm getting chills while you're saying this because I feel like that was like your feel it in your soul moment where the fire, that it takes over.
Yeah.
And so you're standing there and you're looking at this office with people coming in and out with their briefcases. They've probably got an umbrella as well.
Yeah, it was the end of the day. So people were coming out and, and I just looked at them and I thought, I'm going to be so successful like them. And that was the moment when my feelings flipped. So I went from being a victim to taking ownership of where I wanted to go. So that's the moment where, before that, I was looking for to think how I'm going to contact my mom so she can come and pick me up. That was the moment where I thought, no, this is in the end. I can't go back to Venezuela, and this is not my story. This can't be my story. This can't be why I came all the way to England. So my boyfriend cheated on me, and then I left, and then I went back to Venezuela. No. That can't be my. It can't be. It can't.
And that's where that fire kind of made you go.
Yeah. So then I obviously stopped raining. I went to Soho Square.
Yeah.
There was a veteran there. I don't know if you remember back years ago. There was a little homeless congregation that they used to do in that square. And you know, I got speaking to somebody, and then very older guy, he spoke Spanish. He was a veteran, Spanish. He spoke German, English. He lost his family, lost everything. He seemed like a decent guy. And he said, well, leave your bag with me if you want, and then go and find somewhere warm where you can, you know, stay, or maybe try and find some friends. And I'm like, I mean, I have no option, right? I have no option whatsoever. So I'm like, okay. And then he gave me a few tips. It's like, look, there was Benji's back years ago. It's like a cafe place.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, oh, they throw croissants and like things on date every night, every day after 6. They close at 6 and they throw it, but it's still, you know, it's still edible. So you can get some food from there. You can go on the tube if you want to keep warm. Like, obviously you have to like run behind people because I had no money to like pay for the ticket. And back then you could like jump, you know, or you know,
you could jump over there.
They were the double-decker bus,
Yeah.
you know, and there used to be these people used to come, it used to be £1.
Yeah.
So I will go on that double-deck bus, and then they'll come upstairs, I'll go downstairs. And then they go downstairs, I go upstairs. And then suddenly they can catch me, like they can see, we know what you're doing. And then, okay. And then you pull in the thing, and then I get off the bus. You know, I used to go to like, I don't know, salsa parties, and sometimes I'll get speaking to people, and then they do an after party, and then I crash on the couch. And I was still working, you know.
And you were you were 17 at this time.
Yeah, 17. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And did you ever feel like reaching out to your mom to kind of let her, or were you kind of like,
every day,
I've got to do this. I've got to like get through this myself. Is this what were you telling yourself? Because I mean, it doesn't matter. Anyone at any age would be going, like, it's time for me to call home.
Every day.
What stopped you?
Imagine being hungry, being cold. Your only option is to move in with some weird guy.
I know.
That is super old.
The possibility of like, you know, the help that comes, does it come with someone trying to take advantage of your situation? I mean, it's a real kind of like being out at war almost every day, trying to figure out how you're going to eat, sleep, drink, and get through to the next day. I mean, you're just thinking day to day, how do I get through this day? And then probably worse still, how do I get through this night?
100%. It was. And it's like, you're constantly thinking, well, you know, about the next move, and about, you know, all I knew was is that if I could find a job where I can, you know, work in the warmth, first of all, and then make a bit better money, then I can then find somewhere to live, which is, you know, I'll have more options. But I knew I couldn't hold up to being in the situation that I was for such a long time.
How long were you in that situation?
I think about a couple of weeks, which it felt like eternity.
Yeah, I'm sure it did. And what do you think stopped you from asking for help?
I knew my mom she was just going to be worried sick if I told her what was going on. Resilience, going back to my stepdad. Failure, you know. And something inside me just kept telling me, like, you know, this is all going to pass, you know, like you're going to have somewhere eventually, you're going to do something with your life eventually. Like the answer isn't quitting. Yeah. The answer is going through it's almost like if you're going through hell, why stop, you know? You're in hell.
Actually, you know what?
Going.
Someone said something really like that was quite interesting. It was, they related when you're going through a difficult patch. They were like, look, it's like going through labor. You have to go through it. It's not, you're not, there's sometimes there's this pain that you have to go through.
Yes.
And when you get with I have to go through it, I'm here now. It's almost like bracing yourself, because you're kind of like going, it's a wave, and this wave, this time will pass.
Yeah.
And that kind of keeps you going.
Yeah.
And so, okay, so talk me through how you actually got yourself out of that situation.
So I gave in.
I mean, I've got to say, just like kudos to you.
Thank you.
Being a 17-year-old girl, that you didn't get yourself in, you know, I'll go and stay at that guy. I think you had your, you know, for someone who's 17, you had this level of knowing danger when you see it, like look, I'm a bit street smart. I know what's going on. I know the way that I can get around this, because I
Yeah.
think, like, you know, how many people would have gone, oh yeah, I'll take that, you know, that help. And what that help comes with is probably a lot of other baggage or other things that, you know, you're 17 years old. Like, so many people could have taken advantage of that situation. But I think you've had your kind of like wits about you of like, I'm going to get through this. I'll go to a party, I'll stay at a couch, or I'll go on a bus. Almost turned it into like a kind of like game of how do I get through this
It
day, then how
was.
do I get through this night.
It was.
And how
shame.
did you get out of that
So
situation?
eventually, I had the conversation with that person. They offered me the room, the
Yeah.
first place. He mentioned that somebody else, there was another girl, that it was a shared room. So it's 2 single beds.
Yeah.
And he told me that this girl was going to be moving in a couple of weeks. So he was there on his own in his flat. And I was still flying. So, and he used to bring me coffee, and he used to bring me food, and he was nice. So I just confronted him and I said, look, why are you so nice to me? Like, I don't get it. Like, why are you this nice? It's very strange. I'm an underage girl. You know this, right? And
you said that straight to him.
Straight to him, because
Yeah.
at this point I stink. I'm desperate for a shower.
Yeah.
I'm literally, it's been too long. It's too cold. And he just said to me, look, you just remind me of my daughter. My daughter has the same age as you. And he started showing me pictures of his daughters. Still, his daughter, I had massive trust issues because of my stepdad, because of what he's done to me. He's done horrible things to me. And it was still a struggle. However, my ex-dad helped me to find an interview in a restaurant in Farrington, where I'll be making £500 a month.
Your ex?
My ex-boyfriend, the one that cheated on me,
yeah.
his conscience, I guess.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, well, you've got an interview today at 6 p.m. And I was like, okay, brilliant. This is amazing. I'm like, okay, great. His dad used to work in the restaurant. And as I'm getting off the bus to get to the restaurant, I get run over by a motorcycle.
Oh my gosh.
So literally get run over, because I didn't go at the back of the bus. I got on the front of the bus. And this motorcycle, it was coming full force, hits me. I roll over. I landed really far. I hit my head. You know, next thing I think I wake up in a hospital, you know? And I'm like, what happened? Because I don't remember anything. I don't remember, you know, that I remember getting hit.
Yeah, concussed.
But I was, out cold. But at that point in time, I remember there with the neck brace, like, oh my God, what's going on? But then thinking, oh, I'm in a hospital. They got hot food.
Oh gosh.
Oh my God. And they're like, is it hurting you? I'm like, yeah, everything hurts. Everything hurts.
What's for lunch?
What's for lunch? Do you have some soup? And all I'm thinking is like, oh, I'm going to get a warm bed tonight. Okay. So anyways, they take everything off. The doctor comes in to see me. And then he starts talking to they're talking English, so I have no idea what's going on. And then he calls in another doctor. I'm like, yeah, I've got broken ribs. What happened? There's like, yeah, you got run over by a motorcycle. It's like, oh, okay, oh, gosh, I thought it was a car. Oh, and then I'm sitting there thinking, oh, I hope I got, I don't know, like a fracture or something. I can stick around for a little longer. This is brilliant. I got a bed. It's so warm. And then, yeah, they just came in and then just like, we can't believe you didn't even break a finger. Like nothing was broken. And I'm like, are you
sure?
Are you sure? You want to check again? I feel a bit dizzy. I didn't feel dizzy. It's like, I'm so dizzy. It's like, yeah, you might have a concussion, but you know, we're going to discharge you. And I'm like,
you're like,
no, I don't think so. It's a good idea. I think I feel sick. I'm dizzy. I'm going to faint. And they kept me for 24 hours, you know? And it was just like the most amazing 24 hours of my life.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, yeah. And that was like, okay, Jemelin, you can't keep doing this. This is ridiculous, you know? And then I went back I eventually went to the job. They gave me the job. I became practically the cleaner of the restaurant because I didn't speak English. And I moved to, but I did check the other house, and then I make sure the girl was living there. And then she was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna be living here." And then I decided to just take a leap of faith. And luckily, he was a very, very lovely man, and nothing happened ever. But yeah, that was like the turning point. I was like, okay, I can't. This is just, I can't do this anymore. It's either that or I call my mom.
Wow, you're a fighter, Jemelin. Wow. So you came out of hospital completely unscratched.
I know.
You're a bit annoyed about, you're a bit pissed off about going, hang on a second, I could have been here for a few days.
I know.
And so you start this job. Now, you said like your English was, wasn't that so great. So that also was an added layer of like loneliness, right? Because yes, you went through all those things, but then also having this language barrier, it's like another layer of kind of not being able to communicate and almost being alienated. Like slowly being alienated like that. How was that job in terms of, did you find like a group of friends? Were you able to start building your life? Because now you've got, you're getting paid every week, you've got somewhere to sleep. How was that? Were you just kind of going in and out of it, going, right, now I've got my first level, my base level is done, I'm making progress?
Well, after going through hell, having a job in the warmth and also having somewhere to sleep, it felt like a vacation for me. I was so grateful. And I think,
what were you like to work there? What were you like, as in like, were you so appreciative of it, or kind of like, I could imagine that,
Yeah, when you compare working in the snow and loads of like long hours, getting really bad money, sleeping rough, and compared to that sort of way and the massive step, then I was so grateful. I remember the manager didn't like me very much because I was really talkative. Even that I didn't speak English, I would always try my best because I always thought, if I want to learn, I need to put myself out there. And I made, I know I'm going to make so many mistakes, but it's fine. And I remember the toilets were downstairs, and they used to send me downstairs because I used to annoy the customers. And then be like, Jemelin, go downstairs to clean the toilets. And I'm like, I've cleaned the toilets so many times now. They're like sparkling clean. And they're like, yeah, but you go and check them. So it was the times when the manager wasn't there that I'd be upstairs cleaning the tables and picking the glasses up. And it was in Farrington, so it's very corporate. So there's a lot of people going. And it was funny. And then I didn't make friends with the staff because I think they just find me annoying because I was just so proactive.
Sometimes like when you're doing when you are so proactive, I just remember I had this telesales job once, and I just kept I had to get through to someone, so I was just ringing, I was ticking it off, I was getting through 100 calls, I was getting through to people, and literally I realized that everyone in my row were like, can you just like slow down? Like, this is so annoying. Like, now they're going to put our quotas up. I know. I was like, but I can't work any other way. I know. So that's probably the kind of effect that you had of, you were just so eager and zealous.
I was so eager to learn. I knew like the only way I could change everything is that if I can communicate, because I had so much to say. I love talking. So I'm like, this is so painful. And I remember I was cleaning tables and I was trying my best to speak to everybody. And they all wrote a letter to say that I should be promoted to waitress.
The customers?
All the customers.
Wow.
All right. So I'm like, this is crazy. And then, they had no
What did that give you when you knew that strangers have actually written a letter to say you should be promoted? What did that give
felt
you?
amazing. I was like, oh, this is so nice. And in a way, I feel like it was kind of like my first small achievement. I didn't do it for that, but it wasn't fun cleaning the toilets like for 8 hours a day. It was a lot, and it gave me sort of like approval of you trying and you're doing something, and it's not great and it's not perfect and it's broken in so many ways, but you're trying. That's the main
And I
thing.
suppose, and you're seen and you're acknowledged, right?
Yeah. So
That someone sees you and acknowledges you and goes, hey, you're doing a really good job. Because I think up until that point, probably apart from, you know, what you've gotten from your mum, you know, you probably didn't feel that seen and that acknowledged for all your attributes and all the greatness that you have. It's kind of almost like you had to really grab for it.
yeah.
So they asked you for a you know, you should be promoted. How did the manager take that?
No, I think he quit 2 weeks after or something like that. I'm not sure if it's to do with that. I'm pretty sure it's not.
Yeah.
But he wasn't happy there anyways, wanted to travel. So I was just like, okay. And then a lady came in and then she was lovely. So I wasn't even waitress because I didn't know how to take orders because obviously I didn't know the menu, I didn't know the food. So I was basically assistant waitress. So I'll just pick up the plates, clean up the stuff, and then also slide kitchen porter because I had to wash plates and, you know. But I worked in that restaurant for about 2 years and I managed to learn, you know, quite basic English and I became the waitress and then I became the head waitress.
Wow.
In that same restaurant. So
that must have given you a sense of achievement and actually knowing that, hey, if I put my mind to something, you know, seeing that growth, you know, from where you were, you've come in, couldn't speak the language, wasn't really allowed to come upstairs, and now you're the head waitress.
Yeah, it did until I got fired.
What did you get fired for?
Oh, I used to party too much. I used to always be late. And, you know, I think when it got to head waitress, it was almost like, which it happens to a lot of people.
Yeah.
You become complacent. You know, you're like, I'm the head waitress. I tell people I work really hard, but you know, then I met a bunch of people and you know, I love dancing.
Yeah.
At that point I didn't drink or anything.
Yeah.
It was just dancing and I started going out a lot. Like I got introduced to like the London
Bearing
night
in mind,
scene.
you were also like 18, 19, 18. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like that point where you just want to go out.
Yeah, every day, Monday to Monday. So obviously it took its toll. So yeah, so one day that's the first and last job I actually got fired, apart from obviously Apprentice.
Yeah, that's
2 times in my life. And yeah, she just sat down and she said, Jemelin, I just think you should find a job in a nightclub.
How did you go from party girl, you know, I'll do a bit of work, you know, I pay my rent. How did that person go, right, I'll apply for Apprentice?
I was going through a really rough patch in my life, right? So I was 34 and I think we have these high expectations of ourselves, right? Like by 30, I'm going to have a house. I'm going to be a millionaire. I'm going to have kids. I'm going to have the perfect marriage. And all these society expectations that, you know, a lot of people, we put on ourselves really. And I was 34. You know, I had my son, I had my partner, which is great, but I just felt like work-wise, I was a drifter, you know? So in so many things, you know, I go into events eventually. And I was going through a really, really rough patch, depression, anxiety, panic attacks, suicide thoughts, and everything. And I remember my son coming one day to the room and he turned around and said, Mommy, you stink. Because I haven't had a shower in a while. Well, not in a while, but like a couple of days. And he's like, you're so sad. Why are you so sad? And he was about, I don't know, 6 years old, 7 years old. And
And that was because you were literally just...
I gave up on life. I just felt like it, you know,
hit a kind of...
Yeah, a really, really dark hole, you know, like I just looked and there was no way out. I felt like a failure. I felt like I was trying all these things and nothing was working out. And, you know, when life gives you lemons, it was giving me a lot of lemons. Yeah. And I just, that day I woke up and I remember I opened the laptop and I said, the first thing that comes up, I'm going to do. I'm like, so glad now I wasn't stripping or anything like that because I'd be like, okay, it's not happening. And then an Apprentice, you know, when you go into Google, there was an Apprentice ad and I've always watched the show. Yeah. And I've always said if I was ever to be on TV for anything, it would be the Apprentice because I'm so business minded. Yeah. I've had so many business ventures. And I was like, yeah, this is for me, I think. So I applied for the audition, right? It's a massive application form. You have to put a lot. I had an idea for an app for the events industry, which it had legs because I had investors interested in it.
Yeah.
So it had legs, so I knew. And then they called me and they said, they emailed me and they said, oh, we'd love to invite you to the audition. And then he said, you must wear a suit in the invitation form. And I'm like, oh God, I don't do suits. I don't know if you watched Apprentice. I never wore a suit once. It's not I'm against it, but it's just not my thing.
Yeah.
Like, I just think it's you know, it's just too formal for my personality.
Yeah.
But I borrow a suit from a friend. I get to the audition. I get to the road. I get to the station, right? Tottenham Court Road. And I'm like, this brings me memories. And I start walking. I'm in my GPS. I'm literally oblivious of everything. I'm just in my GPS, checking Instagram. And then suddenly I get to the
building.
Yeah, the arch. And I'm like, no. And then I'm like, and then I look at it, it's like, 10 left.
No.
I can't be. I'm pretty sure Apprentice is in Canary Wharf or something, 10 left. And I'm like, and I got goosebumps. I saw myself in that same corner crying. And then I looked to the left and it was the same building. And I'm wearing a suit.
Oh, that gives
by
me chills.
force. And I'm going in that building.
Was it that building that you saw
building,
people
number
come?
one, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I've got proof of where I used to live and, where it is. And it's literally like, it's just.
That's crazy.
And I start crying, of course, emotional wreck. And then all these people in the queue like, what's wrong with this? What's wrong with this crazy woman? I'm going into the audition with like running mascara. My makeup is off. I didn't have anything to retouch. But in that moment, I knew that was my calling. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be on The Apprentice. 18 years. So whatever I saw in the back of my mind, it lived, I manifested 18 years later. I'm going into that same building and I'm wearing a suit by force. What are the chances? What are the chances?
Crazy.
If you don't believe in manifesting.
Absolutely crazy. Was it raining that day?
No, it wasn't.
So
it wasn't. That would have been even crazier. But no, it wasn't raining. But I knew, it just something inside me just clicked. And I knew this could potentially change my life. And it did. And it was almost like 18 years of hustle and pain. And, it was worth it for me not to that moment call my mom and tell her to pick me up, And I knew that was going to be. And I remember I called my husband. I was like, so I'm going to be on The Apprentice. And then he's like, what you mean? You just gone to the first audition? Oh, no, I'm going to be on The Apprentice.
You just knew it.
Yeah, it's going to happen. So, because you have to wait, it's 7 weeks, 8-week process.
And I'm sure, I don't know how many applications, they must get so many.
Oh, thousands. 75,000,
wow.
80,000, something like that. Crazy. And then he said, well, how are you sure? And then I told him the story and he was like, oh my God, that's crazy.
That is absolutely crazy. But that is just also, that girl, I mean, you were a girl at the time, stood there and just wasn't going to accept that I'm going to go back, sit on a plane, go back. I'm somehow I'm going to dig deep and make this work. And 17 years later, you find yourself there in the same spot. I mean, that is absolutely insane.
It's crazy.
And literally your life did from that moment take a different trajectory.
100%, yeah.
And did you feel it's almost like, when you feel I feel like I had a moment where there was this pop, like a little click, right? And I just, all of a sudden you go, things are going to change.
Yeah.
And you 100% know it. So when you're standing in that queue and you're going for your auditions and what do you get? Like a letter? What do you get to say that you've got in? An email? How does it work?
No, a call.
You get a call.
Yeah, you get a call. I mean, first you go for 3 or 4 auditions.
Yeah.
Yeah, about 3 or 4. Then you get a meeting with the producers and they go through your whole Twitters and Instagram.
Did you explain to them your story?
No.
Yeah.
I don't even think they know my story right now.
Wow.
It's crazy.
So you were just give them the kind of nice version.
Yeah. And they said, they said, we found this because I just said, these apprentice contestants are a bunch of
Yeah.
tea.
Yeah.
And I need to apply and show them how it's done. So they found that on my Facebook and they're like, yeah, this has to go. And I'm like, oh, okay. And yeah, that was sort of the last meeting. And then I remember I was going away to Philippines for holidays. And yeah, they called me and they said, yeah, we need you to film. Like, we need you for film. You made it. You made it through the 16 candidates. And yeah, we need you to start filming in a couple of days. I had to fly back from Philippines really early. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That must have been. And what did you do? Ring your mum up? Bring everyone up?
Well, fun fact, so in the, before we go into the house, they say to you, so who's your two people that you can tell about the show.
Right, yeah.
So who's your two? And I'm like, you mean like 200? No, two people. I'm like, by this point, I told everybody. Oh, God. I nearly posted it on Facebook and I wasn't aware that I wasn't meant to tell anybody. So I was like, little problem.
I've told everyone already.
Told a few more, a couple more, not much. But yeah, no, I just said to them, yeah. The people that I told, I trusted. So I knew they wasn't going to say anything. But yeah, no, you just get picked up.
Actually, I wanted to ask, obviously as somebody who watched quite a few seasons of Apprentice, is it as hard? Because like literally they come and like wake you up in the like crack of dawn, 5 o'clock and all. Is it as hard as it looks? Because it looks like you're really put through it, or is it kind of a lot of cutting and editing, or is it really as intense as it looks?
More intense.
Really?
Yeah, more intense. They wake you up at 4 with cameras in your face and you're like, and you've gone to sleep at like 11. So it's not like you're sleeping super early. Yeah. And you had a crazy day before. And our team won 6 out of 7 tasks. Yeah. So we were filming back to back, because we get the treat day. Yes. And it's like go. By the 3rd week, you literally a zombie. Like I think they were filming me at once, and I just went and sat down and took a pee. And they're like, oh, okay, we need to go. You just become so. Like
blasé to it all, because it's so intense and just like
the first couple of days you're like, okay,
there was hair, you've got everything.
There was an Irish girl, Pamela, she's gonna kill me for this, but she used to wake up she used to wake up at 3 to do her makeup. No, so they catch her like looking all glamorous and beautiful. I mean, she looked always beautiful. I was just like, nope, I need to sleep until
right till the end,
right till the end, and then it's again like full day. You have to eat breakfast. They force you to eat breakfast, and you get mic'd up, and then do the walk out of the house. Boom, do it like a few times. Many times, I don't know if you've probably seen it on the show. Many times people are like not wearing makeup, or they got one earring, or they're wearing
running
flats.
out the house trying to put their trousers on.
Yeah, and then you get on the car and then boom, onto the first task, and it's just a whole day, and it's intense. Then you get back to the house, and then you have food there ready for you to eat. Then you get debrief, and then sleep. Wow. Lights out, 11 o'clock, and 10 o'clock, sorry.
And how, like, scary is the boardroom?
To be fair with you, I've never had a corporate job in my life, okay? Yeah. Which is why it was when I said to people I was applying for the Apprentice, and people used to tell me, you never make it because you come from a completely different background. I've never been in a boardroom before, so I found it exciting. I was like, oh, this is very exciting. And, and I just felt, I didn't feel scary. I generally didn't think, I think Lord Sugar just needed a hug. Yeah. He's just so angry all the time. Yeah. I'm just like, why are you so angry? Like, do you want a hug? I think he was really annoyed with me many times because I will always have an answer, Yeah. But yeah, it was full on. It's more full on than you see on TV.
Well done. I mean, what a kind of transformation of like from where you were to now, you're now kind of a celebrity, you're being interviewed, you're being asked to do, different shows. Like that is such a 360. Yeah. But I feel like Jemelin had a little kind of thing in the back of her mind from day one that I'm going to make something, I'm going to do something. I don't know how, but I'll just keep going in that direction and something's going to happen.
Yeah, I think I've come from a family where my mom always showed me not to quit on anything, you know, like she's always been a fighter herself. Like she's gone through so much. And I've seen how resilient she is and how she's come out of the other way stronger. And I think I've seen that all my life. And I think that's what it's always been in the back of my mind, that, you know, that whenever you're going through stuff and you know, a lot of people say, oh, you've made it. And I don't think anyone has ever reached that. There is no top.
No.
There is no top. There is a journey, but there is no end and there is no top. You know, and, you know, you're going to get set levels in your life where, you know, you're going to be like, okay, I'm proud of what I've done, but I want to have more. I want to do more. I want to reach more. And I think seeing my mom grow every single time she went through rough situations was my motivation to be like, okay, this is rubbish. This is horrible what I'm going through. So I can't wait to see that stronger Jemelin, you know? Or this is really bad, but, you know, eventually I'm looking forward to what is it going to come out of that. Being comfortable with being uncomfortable and being comfortable with being a failure. It's my biggest, what can I say? My biggest being, like, it's what I live for.
That's your strength.
That's my strength.
That's your strength.
Yeah.
Like, because it's almost like, well, how much worse could someone else make it for you when you've had to go through that? It's like, well, come on, like, listen, I have to wake up 5 o'clock and do Apprentice and, you know, finish at 11. Listen, I'm not going to cry about it because what I've had to go through is like, you know, 1,000 times more. So I think knowing that you can hit such a low point and through your own accord, actually, I mean, you know, you really did do this. I've got to say, you're a woman that's made herself, for sure. I know you've drawn on a lot of inspiration, but, you know, you dug deep. And especially when you're younger, you haven't quite developed sometimes those levels of kind of how you think about things in its greater context.
Yeah.
So for you to do that, I think that's an absolute testament to yourself.
Thank you.
It has been such a pleasure to talk to you. I think some of the work that you're doing now around the mindset, growth mindset work that you're doing a lot of motivational work. How is that now? I feel like you're getting to a place where you really want to now give back because you've got so much of that experience that you've lived through. Yeah. Tell me what you want to do with your kind of mindset and coaching work.
Yeah, well, I do get asked a lot of times, you know, how is it that you able to do the things that you do and everything that is thrown at you. I have gone through hell and back, and I think a lot of people have. But I think everything starts with your mind. You know, nothing would ever change in your life if you don't change your mind. And this is what I'm so grateful with network marketing. They introduced me to mindfulness. And I remember the first time I heard about mindfulness, I was like, listen, darling, La La Land don't pay my bills, okay? This voodoo stuff, you know, that you talk yourself into existence. Oh, universe, give me money. That's just, a lot of BS. And I'm so grateful that I gave it a go. And then as soon as I understood what it was, then I understood what I've manifested in my life. I'm like, oh my God, this is actually incredible. Our mind can change our life. Like the way you do, you are a product of your thoughts. What 100%. You do every day, you know, how you think, how you see yourself, how you deal with failure. Because life isn't pretty. Like life is an ups and downs. Life is like, you know, when you connect it to a heart monitor, that's life, you know? It's not flat. You're going to be winning and then you're going to be losing. And it's how to deal with, you know, losing. And I think a lot of people ask, and they think I'm this bubble of positivity all the time. I'm like, no, I still have emotions. I still deal with, you know, failure, anxiety. I still have panic attacks. I still have depression. It's just that I have now understood what I need to do to get myself to a better place faster. And that's what I want to help people to do. Be the best version of themselves. How can you be your best version? Because when you are the best you can accomplish amazing things,
It's so true.
And you can
and things actually, I think, and I 100% agree with you on this. I can relate a lot to some of those points that you kind of, when you were talking through your story. But once your mindset changes, it's like a switch goes off. And then how you start being when you're just you, how you start showing up every day, things start actually coming your way.
Yeah.
And you think it's not hocus pocus, it's not magic. It's actually the fact that, if you just kind of keep your mind where I say, like, you're just here and now you've just expanded it out, how much more is possible? And that is absolutely the power of the mind. And I'm just so, I'm enjoying watching this next part of your journey.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why I've invited you on, because you are very, very inspirational to me personally.
Thank you.
So we have a closing tradition here on the show.
Okay.
So I look back sometimes and I think, that gift of hindsight, of experience, what would I say to myself, like, 10 years ago? What would you say, what gift of kind of experience or hindsight would you give to your younger self?
Oh gosh, I will say to her, remember that everything is temporary. Everything is temporary. And it's as crazy as it sounds, you're going to be happy for a short period or long period of time, but it's temporary.
Yeah.
And the same when you're sad, it's temporary, and everything changes, and I think back then when we're younger, we feel like our whole world is, crashing, or it's the end, and it's no, and it's just, and that's what I keep reminding myself. There's two things I remind myself every day, apart from practicing a lot of gratitude, and this is why I'm launching my mentorship program, because I think a lot of people are lost what to do, what are the steps, and I want to show them the steps. It's going to be a free program for anyone to join and just understand what is it you can do to be the best version of you, and there is three things. Practice gratitude is super important, everything is temporary, just think whatever you're living at that moment, savor it. If it's good, savor it. If it's bad, understand that it's gonna pass. All right, it's so important. And there, you are a product of your daily tiny choices. Every single day you wake up and you will make choices like putting sugar in your coffee, like eating a salad or a sausage roll, or not going to the gym or going to the gym, practicing your gratitude or not practicing your gratitude. Those tiny choices that we make every single day, and they're very small. They're so insignificant.
So true.
But we don't keep a track on that. And I feel and I believe that if you were to get control of those tiny choices, then your mindset will completely change, and then you become a much better person. And I'm not talking about, being super successful, having millions, but being happy within yourself. I don't go to the gym because I want to lose weight. I want to go to the gym because I'm disciplined, and I want to be proud of myself because I made the decision to go to the gym, And I think understanding those tiny choices every day, and I do it every day. I'm out and about, and I'm like, okay, there's a tiny choice to make. I could walk or I could take the train. If I walk, I can get to my 10,000 steps. So all those tiny choices will make you who you are. So understanding those tiny choices is so important. And I think a lot of people don't see it.
That is such good practical advice, because sometimes I think we're all, you're kind of wanting this golden bullet. And what you realize is there is no golden bullet.
Nope.
There is no prince, in shining armor. There is you working every day on those small things. I think that is brilliant practical advice. Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank
you, Jemelin.